who should be held accountable for the South African Airways' dire financial state? How does the continued bailout of the SAA by National Treasury impact the country's taxpayers? Why has OUTA launched legal proceedings against SAA's Chairperson Dudu Myeni? And what led to SAA losing close to 2 billion rand in tender irregularities? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The South African Airways is back under the spotlight. The leadership of the national carrier appeared before Parliament last week, where its state of finances were laid bare. At the center of the saga is the continued bailout of the SAA by National Treasury that is reported to have cost 23.8 billion rand since 2008. Rumours have been doing the rounds since last week of plans by government to sell off Telkom shares worth 14.4 billion rand to help secure funds for yet another SAA bailout. In response to the news, Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba said, and I quote, "The leaked memo was a secret document. All cabinet documents are classified until they have been adopted by cabinet," close quote. Meanwhile, SAA is reported to be considering slashing both its monthly national and international routes to lower operational costs. For its part, OUTA launched legal proceedings against SAA Chairperson Dudu Myeni a few months ago, asking the court to declare her a delinquent director. But how rife is corruption at the SAA? We are live, and therefore you can call us. The number to dial 089-1104-210. Our international number +27 89 1104-210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. My guest today is Wayne Duvenage. He's the chairman or chairperson of the organization Undoing Tax Abuse. So we are talking corruption today, and we really would like to hear from you out there as to what are your views. Wayne, welcome to the show. And indeed, I mean, I'd said it even on Twitter last week that this week, I guess the majority of the days we're going to dedicate it to talking about corruption.
Yes.
And not just corruption, because as question time, you want to see what are the consequences for those who are found to be on the wrong side of the law. In this case, you have already laid charges against the SAA chairperson whose term comes to an end.
Yes, it does, but that doesn't mean to say that the charges shouldn't be laid. It was ourselves and the SAA Pilots Association. Sometime we took the decision late last year. The papers were filed in February, and the pleas have been going to and fro since then. What we're ultimately trying to do is to show that if you are responsible for serious maladministration and not taking the necessary action, and potentially corruption as well, you need to face the music. What is that? Because maybe out of these cases still come criminal charges against her and others. But we started out by saying we've got to be sure that people like Dudu Myeni, if they are found to be delinquent directors, suffer the consequences of that by not being just moved, as we see so often in government circles, this musical chairs of chairpersons. They move from one organization to the next, and she finds herself in the water board or somewhere else heading up those departments. If she is declared delinquent director for at least 7 years, maybe longer, she may not sit on the boards or hold a senior position in any company in South Africa, and that has dire consequences for her.
Okay, now there's a slide which I want us to refer to here. I'm not so sure if we have it on screen. Bailout, by the billions, as it is said from the Mail and Guardian there. In March 2008, 1.3 billion solvency guarantee. March 2008 to 2009, 1.5 billion to fund the grounding of B747-400 fleet. September 2009, 1.6 billion guarantee to ensure SAA remains going concern. October 2012, 5 billion government guarantee. January 2014, 6.5 billion, another guarantee. September 2016, 5 billion, another government guarantee. June 2017, 2.2 billion cash injection to pay off, I guess, their facility, their Standard Chartered Bank. So the total support for SAA since 2008, 23.8 billion rand.
Yeah, shocking, and that's a sign of poor leadership. I mean, you just go back to as far as 2009. One would have imagined that under the senior leadership, the board, that serious interventions were put in place. But what we've seen over the last few years is that instead of getting leadership focused on turning this organization around, and it could have been, what Dudu Myeni and her crew were doing on the board was purging talent. So you see the likes of Wolf Meyer, who was questioning some of the expenditure, the Cynthia Stimples of the world, the Tulium Shares of the world, Dawa, who was the procurement director. The list goes on. We have lost talent in that organization instead of keeping those people on board and questioning what the board chairperson and others were doing in that organization. And that's the shocking situation we found ourselves in. So now we're bringing in consultants and we're bringing in more people, a new CEO. But let's ask ourselves one question. The shareholder, that's the government, and we pay those taxes, is to blame for the political meddling and the interference that has gone on. Treasury some time ago was trying to put pressure on SAA, and what happened? Praveen Gordhan was told to not interfere, and we've had all of these changes. The president wanted to keep Dudu Myeni in the chair position. We saw that interference, and it just goes on and on. It becomes a mess, and quite frankly, this airline is in a dire situation.
And you're in Durban.
Hello. Look, what I would like to ask, when ministers travel by SAA, do they have to pay for their seats on the aeroplane? And also, if they travel with their families, do they have to pay for their seats and their family seats?
No, you pay.
I pay.
Yeah. You are paying. I'm paying.
Why?
Because they are ministers. That's what the handbook says.
And what about when they travel with their families?
Yeah, family members, I think they also have some benefits here and there, but otherwise they pay to some extent for, I think, certain trips, but in terms of their handbooks, for instance, the minister can take his wife to New York if he's going to meet.
Well, no wonder they want to keep it going then. Hey?
What's your view, and should it be shut down?
Oh dear. Okay, anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and in Durban there, there are quite a lot of privileges there. But now, OUTA.
Yes.
As you go for Dudu Myeni, will you also go for Andrew Coleman, for instance, who Gundo Munyai writes, Andrew Coleman sold 60 aircrafts to SAA, to his company, and SAA bought back 9 of them from his company in 51. They are leased back to SAA and now owned by his company, which in turn SAA is paying every month to the very same company of his that cost SAA 3.5 billion rand. This man got paid golden handshake for this lousy turnaround strategy of 260 million rand tax-free.
Absolutely diabolical. There are serious concerns. And let's go back. That happened in 2001, 16 years ago. OUTA wasn't around then. What we would like to just remind the listeners and everybody, OUTA shouldn't even exist. We only exist because we're trying to tackle serious maladministration and corruption in today's environment. What needs to happen is, if there was wrongdoing there, the shareholder, the state, the government, the police, the National Prosecuting Authority needs to go and unpack that. And if there was wrongdoing, we urge them to go and tackle the Coleman Andrews debacle and saga. At the time, it seemed absolutely crazy what was going on, but We weren't around. I was a youngster in another organization. Today we look at it and we say, well, is this situation on this picture as a result of Coleman Andrews? Let's be careful not to blame things that happened 10 or 15 years ago. We could have stopped this rot in the last 9 years or 5 years.
Let's go to, is it Devon again? Is it Mike? Mike in Devon?
Hello.
Hi, Mike. Welcome.
I just want to ask Rain one question.
Yep.
If it's 9 years, and in 9 years, they've been running at losses every year. Now, they just come to Parliament, and they get reimbursed and reimbursed and reimbursed, and they can't get rid of Dudu Myeni. Now, why are they so desperate to keep both the airline plus Dudu Myeni?
So they must lose one.
Both.
Okay, Mike, thanks very much for that. Yeah.
Good question. First of all, Dudu Myeni's time does come up. We hope so.
Yep.
And secondly, I think she should have been moved a long time ago. If the shareholder was serious about having this airline run properly, they would have got rid of her long ago, because that track record is shocking. And any state-owned entity that runs like this, the shareholder should be doing a lot more to the senior management and the boards, and holding them to account, by the way. On the airline, on the country keeping its airline, I think we need to look internationally. What are the track records? What are the benchmarks? Do we need an airline? That's the first question. I mean, we have lots of other aircraft flying, and by the way, very profitably. So you've got to ask yourself, well, why can't a state-owned institution airline like SA run profitably? And it should be able to. There are many examples of state-run airlines running profitably. So it really comes down to leadership and management.
Okay.
But here's an interesting thing, Mpho. If this airline right now cuts its wage bill in half and they doubled their productivity, it would still run at R1 billion loss every year. So it's more than just the people issue and productivity. That's a salary and productivity.
I'll talk about that in a short while. Let's take Sbuso. Sbuso, you are calling us from around Gauteng. Welcome.
Yes, I'm in Durham's BCBD.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the problem at SAA is because first thing, we've got a 24 billion rand procurement spend, and only if I'm not mistaken, it's 1.7% that goes to black-owned companies. Yet you have Dudu Myeni running. I mean, Dudu Myeni, first thing, she's not running the operations of SAA. We've got corruption there, and it's white people who are looting the state. I mean, the airline.
Yeah.
So the problem here is not Dudu Myeni. The problem here is the white companies that are looting the SAA with an objective to push government to sell the airline. That is the problem here.
Okay.
Not Dudu Myeni. Dudu Myeni is not a problem there. The problem is the corruption, and it's white people who are corrupting the SAA. Thanks, Mpho.
All right, thanks very much, Mr. Well, while still on that point, Mwanawa Bunyadzanga writes that the white group dominates in all areas at the airline. SAA employs 779 pilots, of whom the majority are white. Out of 225 senior captains employed by SAA, there's a document that reveals that almost 217 are white males. There are 4 blacks only, but no Indians and coloreds. And apparently 4 senior female captains, all of them white. Of 116 captains, 108 are white males, 3 are black, 2 colored, and 1 Indian. So there's 1 white female captain and an Indian with no blacks or coloreds, right? There are 288 senior first officers. Of those, 187 are said to be white males, 22 blacks, 16 coloreds, and 21 Indians. Now, this Mwanawa Bunyadzanga insists are some of the things which Dudu Myeni has been trying to rectify, and that is why organizations like OUTA want her out.
No, not at all. If that's the case, whose fault is it? I mean, the person, the white captain who applies for a job and gets the job, he's been appointed by who? SAA's management. It's Dudu Myeni. and her board that needs to work harder, and the senior management teams, in order to change the representation of pilots, of all the factors that were read out in that message. So I have no doubt that we have to, that organization, SAA, has to change, has to get more black pilots in. But to do that, you have to run training academies, you have to put in place all of the stuff to get there. They had those programs, by the way. A number of them have fallen by the wayside because of management's decisions, not because of the pilots. The pilots don't decide that we're not going to employ black pilots. Okay. It is management's role. And all the organizations that are providing services to SAA, if they are white-dominant organizations, fix that SAA. We welcome the representation and the spreading of the finances and the spend of SAA into all sectors of society must be done, and it must be done properly and meaningfully. But don't sit here now, as Ms. Dudu Myeni does, 5 years into her tenure at the role, and say, no, that's her problem that she inherited. Well, then fix it. The many reports that have been given to her about corruption, many reports. What did she do? Very little. That senior management team has done very little to uncover and deal with and tackle. Who's been held accountable while she's been there as the chairperson for corruption? And we're talking serious corruption. I haven't seen her bring those people to book.
Okay, let's take Peter. Peter, you are in Mpumalanga very quickly.
Hi, Mpho. Thank you very much. Mr. Wayne, how are you there? I just want to actually find out, we've recently learned about OUTA a few years or months ago when they started with the Sanral Etoll issues. Yeah. But what I just want to know, what is OUTA all about? Is OUTA all about exposing black people that they cannot rule or cannot manage? Because ever since they started, they've never, not even a single day, shown us the corruption or maladministration of white people that are currently leading. So there's just a problem with OUTA here. We are all about trying to throw black people out in order for them to take over. So there's just something wrong with OUTA here. So we don't want them to discourage what is currently happening. We can see that SAA is currently in problems, but that's not the way to show it. They must also tell us the things that the white people are also doing in this country. South Africa is not all about black people, and currently they are all about gunning for black people that are currently leading.
Okay.
So they must clear out. And who is funding OUTA?
All right, Peter, thanks very much for that question.
Lovely. So very quickly, not at all. We are tackling maladministration and corruption in the state, and where state expenditure happens. That's all. It's simple as that. It's got nothing to do with race matters. We have and are taking white organizations like the construction companies to task on their collusion matters in the Tshwane area, white people involved in collusion working with the Tshwane municipality to tackle those matters. We've got another case coming. This is not about black or white. This is about corruption around maladministration. OUTA stands for the Organization Undoing Tax Abuse. It's got nothing to do with what
okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion here about corruption, and we must try and get hold of the PIC as well, because we've been saying there are issues also happening. They have refused, by the way, to participate on this show, but we want them to confirm on air to you viewers so that you don't think, you know what, we're not making any efforts. And by the way, we had also invited SAA. Kladi said he can't get anybody to come through. The South African, the Pilots Association, they said, no, it's too late, we can't come. The cabin crew, their delegates were traveling, apparently. So, 089-1104-210, we shall return. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time, and like I had said, well, today we have Wayne Duvenet. She's the chairperson of OUTA, Organization Undoing Tax Abuse. But this week we've dedicated quite a few days to talking about corruption and what is going to happen. And like I had said, we have in the past extended, extended an invitation to the likes of PIC, who said, no, we don't want to participate. So I don't know, is Mr. Sukwela on the line? Oh, okay. He says he's in hospital, I'm told, and he wouldn't talk to us. But we are not giving up on this corruption matters. We are going to be tackling a whole lot of them this week, from Treasury, from the Gauteng government, the PIC, as we're doing with SAA today, and indeed any other corruption, corrupt activities that you know of that are happening at government level. Please do let us know. We want consequences. People must pay for the wrong things that they're doing. When you check our Twitter handle there, it's I'm told the debate is quite biased. That's Twitter there. I don't support the bailout. I support government selling off Telkom shares. They should also sell SAA shares. Gaddafi Chipape says, Mpho, if center cannot hold, things fall apart. And Africa, if SAA don't own more than half of their fleet, how is Dudu Myeni going to turn around SAA? Okay, let's go to Etinaha. Who have we got, Etinaha? Salome, welcome.
Well, Salome, Mpho.
Who is it? Is it Salome or Salome?
Oh, Solomzi.
Oh, Solomzi, Etinaha, call Puti.
All right. Oh, man, the first thing is, why don't you have a person from SAA there? That is that one.
Okay, but I answered that question. Remember, I said, Tladi said they can't send somebody. We did extend an invitation.
Oh, okay, my apologies then.
Yep.
I comment them, Paul, man. Paul, I'm all against corruption as well.
Yeah.
But I think as black people, we should dispel this notion that only black people are corrupt.
Exactly.
Because my issue with the gentleman from OUTA that sits there is that ever since they've been established, they, as the other caller said, they would only try and expose or talk about black corruption, which is incorrect. Now, I want to put it to him that NGOs like OUTA, they are anti-transformative, first of all.
Not at all.
Correct enough. Government should not continue bailing out SAA. That's what I'm saying. But what has been read there, the stats that were read there, it simply shows that SAA is untransformed.
Yeah. 23
years into democracy, it cannot be correct. A black strong person should be put there as a CEO, and whoever is corrupt, be it black or white, that person must be dealt with. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Solomzi.
Absolutely. I mean, and we're not about anti-transformation, and transformation has to happen. We've got a serious backlog of transformation, and we welcome transformation. I just also want to point out with the previous caller, and maybe the one before him, OUTA is not financed by political parties, not by external international interventions, nobody else. We are funded by South Africans, black, white, colored, Indian, across the board. 100% the people that our work resonates with. They finance us, they fund us with debit orders every month.
Okay, it seems we have run out of time, yeah. But let me repeat. We had extended an invitation to the South African Pilots Association. They refused. SAA, Tladi said he would get somebody, sent Andrew an SMS that he is not able to get anybody to come through. Yes, even the cabin crew association, we tried them, they were traveling. So it's not like we only wanted to talk to Wayne alone. We wanted people to defend their institutions, but they were not able. But remember, we are not giving up. We're going to be uncovering corruption everywhere. Government, SOEs, anything. And before the end of this week, we should be able to talk to Treasury as well about the rate of corruption that is, or the amount of corruption that is happening either within their divisions or anything of that sort. That was question time. Let's meet again next time. From me and the entire crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. I'm